Inside Foos presents FoosTalk Live.
There are some people who just like to light fires. That's all there is to it.
Who would that be?
Including the Windy City fasting guru, teen idol, and voted most humble by his schoolmates, Mark the Boy Torres.
That's an intro.
Mark,
Is it my turn to talk?
you can.
Can I just say, I'm never gonna give you up.
Now that
What'd you say,
you've poisoned the well with Rick Astley, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You said Astley, is that?
That might be the first time I've ever heard Tom curse.
Yeah.
It's FoosTalk Live.
You talking to me?
Compelling and lively banter.
Are you going to talk to us?
Talking foosball.
Foosball was how I measured my value as a man. You took that away.
Players and fans, promoters and pros. Unedited and raw.
Talk.
Living in the moment.
We have a lot of important things to talk about.
All while practicing social distancing.
Cool. We'll talk. No big whoop.
Let's get this thing started. FoosTalk Live.
Coming to you live from the studios of Inside Foos, it's the 89th episode of FoosTalk Live, brought to you by InsideFoos.com, offering monthly subscriptions with access to some of the most exciting matches ever recorded, plus live tournaments, pre- and post-show analysis, interviews, and original programming. Sign up now at InsideFoos.com. Also brought to you by ProtectoFlex, the world's premier foosball safety accessory. Go to Protecto-Flex.com. Brought to you by Rodlock. Practice more, reach less. The best practice tool in foosball. Visit rod-lock.com. Brought to you by 518 Prints, one of the best printers of promotional items and foosball apparel. Visit 518prints.com. Also brought to you by Foosballers, the movie. This Joe Hesslinger foosball documentary is now available as a worldwide download at foosballersthemovie.com. Also brought to you by the USTSO, helping to usher in a new competitive foosball era. Become a member now at usafoosball.com. Also brought to you by Foosball Clubs USA, promoting foosball through school systems all over the United States. Make a donation today at foosballclubsusa.com. Well, hey there, it's Tom Robinson. We're back together again for another live edition of FoosTalk Live. This is number 89. As we approach the end of the year, it's getting closer and closer, of course, to 2022, and we're looking forward to it, but we're going to make the most of what's left of 2021. Along with, of course, the person that always enjoys having conversation about foosball, no matter what the case. He's also considered the greatest play-by-play foosball announcer of all time, and that would be Jim Stevens. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Tom. Happy holidays to everybody out there listening. It's our last show before the Christmas weekend, so we're all kind of excited about that. I know we are in our household with the kids and my wife, Amy. 89 shows, Tom. Did you ever think we would make it, especially after Mark came on board?
No.
Did you ever think we would last this long?
Not at all. Not even a ghost of a chance. But there you have it. You know, some people will put up with a lot of stuff, and that's the way it works.
For
And
sure.
yes.
And we got another great holiday show tonight. Of course, Adrian Zamora is going to join us a little later. And we're down to the top 30. As we count down the top 50 the top 50 greatest players in the history of the American tour. And every player from now on out is either a Hall of Famer or an obvious first ballot inductee.
Sure.
There are players remaining who are there because of longevity or number of world titles or consistency or strength of competition or maybe just simply the eyeball test and maybe just a combination of all of those things. But we are excited. It's really been quite an amazing project, I know, for all of us, and looking forward to counting down 30 through 21 tonight.
I got to say, when it gets to this point, you kind of have to split hairs in so many ways, just because so many of these players are so top notch, and really any could make, anybody's list. But it's just, it is going to be very interesting tonight, to say the least.
Yeah, and for sure, when it comes to splitting hairs, I know I've got a friend who's very good at that. But Adam Gilson, I know you're lingering out there, Adam. And if you've seen Adam's hair, you know it does need to be split occasionally. But
where
welcome,
did that
Adam.
come from?
Good to be on a Sunday night with you once again.
What? My hair has split ends? That's the takeaway that I'm getting right now?
You need prep.
My heart, my soul. But anyways, as always, it's great to be here with you all. I can't imagine my life before being here on a Sunday night, staring into my monitor and talking to my weird microphone that I have. And I think I did the math. I think this might be the 20th show I've done with you all, but I can't be sure
20.
because I'm not that great at math.
But you're counting. I'm impressed.
Well, I've gotten past 10, so that's all I know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, as Jim was talking, I'm looking forward to this part. It seems like, and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I think this is kind of what we're all feeling. The first 10, it's kind of up in the air, and everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah, those are names, and it's good to know about the history. And then the next 10 was like, all right, we're getting a little more down into the trenches here. And now this 10 onward, I think, is starting to talk about not only people that we have maybe played against or played with. I know that's the case for me with quite a few people in this section of 10, but are people that are on the Inside Foos tapes, which to me is really indicative of kind of what we're talking about. Because and keep in mind, I think Inside Foos has been around longer recording foosball than 4 times the length of the golden age of tournament soccer back in the 70s.
True that.
4
maybe
times.
longer.
I'd say 5
4
times.
times.
Yeah,
5 times. Yeah. So what a record. I don't know. It's just really exciting to me to be digging into the depths of this list now.
Yeah, no, it's this just gets better and better. And of course, we're opening the final gift of this list on January 2nd of 2022. Yeah. What a way to welcome in the new year.
Yep, for sure. No doubt about it. Speaking of gifts, I know we got one other guy sitting out there listening, ready to sing for us. No Rick Astley this week, I hope, Mark Torres.
Right. No, I'm not singing. Am I singing? Do I have anything?
You should
sing. What are you talking to your manager?
I was thinking of adjectives.
Christmas,
oh, there it
is.
is.
My heart,
oh no!
But the very next day, you gave it away. This year. That's the worst. I want to punch that guy in the mouth. That's like, why? Who took your Christmas away? Listen, there's a saying, pop quiz, who said it? With great power comes great responsibility. Who said that?
Uncle Owen.
Yes, in Spider-Man.
No, I just heard you say
it was either Martin Sheen or the other dude.
Martin Sheen.
There it is. What?
I have neither power nor responsibility, and that's my claim to fame. And this list is we lost unanimity or anonymity. No, unanimity.
Unanimity?
After the first 2 names, the list went off the rails. So everything from like 3 to 50 is wild, man. It's like a fire. Yeah. We're putting out fires and
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I have by the way, I have a new title for you. You're the official FoosTalk Live Inside Foos arsonist.
Oh,
that fits. That really fits.
You guys know, you guys have known me for a long time, and I've been on Facebook for like 12, 15 years. I was a pyro when I was a kid.
Were you
True
really?
story. I was a pyro. Yeah, I had issues. One quick story before we move on to foosball, which is probably what people want to hear about that. I used to set stuff on fire, and one of my favorite memories, I was like 11. I set a porta potty on fire in a field, Penitencia Creek Field, and it went up in flames, man. And the fire department came, and I stood off 200 yards away, watching this thing burn with fire flickering in my eyes. And I knew I had an issue right there, but I moved on. I started driving like a year later. Anyway, enough about you, Tom. What's next?
That's amazing. That's FoosTalk Live Cold Case Edition.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know what to say after that. I don't. I'm glad you got help, and I'm glad you're no longer at least starting physical fires, although you've started a few online, and we love it.
Oh, man.
Don't stop now.
Yeah,
that's what the point. The point is it went from literal fire starting to figurative, and I've been starting, and this, wow, Inside Foos TV is having a good time, right? I'm waiting for applause like I'm a stand-up comic. There's no applause to us.
There is none. We could, but Tom could probably work that out. But, also looking forward to talking with the Hall of Famer Adrian Zamora tonight. And Mark, we talked a little bit about this last week. Speaking of starting fires, you have sort of put some sticks together and they're starting an event that's going to take place down in Florida this February 18th through 20, the Thunderdome Limited. And can you tell us any updates that have happened in the last 7 days as far as that event is concerned?
Well, so I don't want to take a ton of credit, and it's amazing. Adrian's here, and Adrian played in the Ironman Invitational, and it's to rehash if people haven't heard this before. In 2003 and 2004, I had a short stint to entertain myself promoting tournaments, and I threw 2 or 3, I think at least 2. The first one wasn't that big. The 2 last tournaments I threw in 03 and 04, the King of the Hill, Adam Gilson won that, and the Ironman Invitational, Lewis Cartwright won that, Hall of Famer. Those were the 2 biggest tournaments in Northern California with the top players. And I think there was one major, I don't know when the Nationals in San Francisco, Adrian could probably remind me, was after that. So 03, 04, I think I've thrown two of the biggest tournaments in California on Tornado
Yeah.
since then. And so this, why is that relevant? This Thunderdome Limited is the format. And I haven't wanted to give the format, or just not because I've coveted it like a Nazi. I just didn't have the time or energy in the last 18 years. South Florida Foosball Club came to me. I'll take credit for supporting and helping deliver them the format and giving them resources to promote it. But it is their baby. It's my baby given to them, and it's gonna be. We already have people from Canada that bought plane tickets.
What?
Yes, we got a guy from Portland who's dying to get more information. And I'm like, well, you're far. We didn't expect to get anyone from Portland. We absolutely have. Liz Hill is committed to this tournament.
Cool.
And they don't, I mean, this is going to be a monster tournament. It's going to be monsters. Limited to 32 teams, limited to 64 people.
players, right?
It's 4 events. It's a race for 64 people. And I can't, we haven't finalized the payouts or the fee, but we're very, very close. And I will tell you this. Besides a tournament maybe in 1977, besides a tournament in 1977, it'll be the highest payout and the most prestigious no pro event in the history of American foosball.
Wow,
that is a
that's
fact.
saying something. That's
Wow.
saying something.
That's,
and you know, from what I've heard
impressive.
too, there would have been 2 more of those Ironman events up in Northern California, but the venue mysteriously burned down after the second one.
That's
Yeah,
right.
There's that fire theme
It didn't
again.
happen. That's true.
I
It was
think,
Mark.
yeah.
That's,
Let's get NCIS in here.
By the way, just a quick anecdote. When I first met my wife back in the 80s, she was a photographer, a professional photographer for the local fire department. And her job was to get up, 2 a.m. for these local fires. And her job was to go to the fire and actually take photographs, not of the fire, but of the crowd. The people standing around.
Yeah.
And
was,
there
you know,
may be a
little-
photograph of Mark watching
Yes.
a outhouse burn in the middle of a field somewhere.
You would have found a greasy Filipino kid standing off in the distance with flames in his eyes, like salivating, like gross.
I thought you looked familiar when I first met you. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, you look familiar.
I'm anxious to get this show going. I did want to touch one more thing before we launch here in a few minutes. There's some upcoming Inside Foods releases. One of the things I've been focusing on lately with InsideFoods.com is to get every Tornado World Championship event uploaded. We have worked our way almost through the entire 90s. Now looking at 2000, I'm going to be on the 2000 Tornado Worlds this week.
Nice.
Right on through the 01 and et cetera, et cetera. And eventually we're going to have every one of those Tornado World Championships uploaded and available at InsideFoods.com. And already at this point, I think we're up and over 1,550 matches. And eventually, I'm guessing we're going to have more than 4,000 available for Inside Foods subscribers there at InsideFoods.com. So exciting news there as well.
Yeah, that's exciting. Now, all this talk of fire just, of course, drives my thirst. What Jim and I like to do right about this time is to reveal our favorite IPA. Have you something festive for us this week, Jim?
Well, kind of, yes. Every time I go down to my local ale shop, Star Liquors here in Durango, I go and I checked a certain shelf down at the end of the refrigerators to see if they have this particular beer in stock. It's top 3 for me, maybe even top 1. I did find it. I got in there lucky enough to find a couple of bottles of it. Comes in a tall 20-plus ounce bottle. It's out of the Russian River Brewing Company up in Northern California, not too far from where Adrian Zamora resides. It is the Pliny the Elder. It's probably the 3rd time I've had it on this show, and only because it is amazing. It is an amazing beer. It's at 8%. It's brewed with Amarillo, Centennial, CTZ, and Simcoe hops. It's well balanced with malt, hops, and alcohol. Slightly bitter with a fresh hop aroma of floral, citrus, and pine. And it is best enjoyed fresh, but that's not a big deal because literally when these things come out, they go quickly, and people are generally buying up a bunch of them when they do show up. So it is made in a limited supply. It is a double IPA at 8%. Pliny the Elder out of the Russian River Brewery up in Northern California.
Beautiful. It's that pine thing that brings
so
Christmas
good.
to mind. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so
very
good.
cool. Well, Adam, you probably should go next because I don't want you to lose your appetite over mine. So,
wow, that's terrifying. So as you all know, I've had a bad run with my IPA choices, and oh my goodness. And I'm getting a closer look at this can right now, and I'm thinking that run won't be ending anytime soon. And I got this Kona Brewing Company. I picked it up because it's out of Oregon. And I thought, okay, I've enjoyed everything up there out of Portland, Oregon, matter of fact. But I'm looking at it, and it's called Gold Cliff IPA, and it's ale brew with pineapple and natural flavor added. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that doesn't sound great.
Pine
Then I
flavor.
look at the back, and it says Liquid Aloha, which is somehow insulting to me, being half Hawaiian.
Say what?
And then it says Liquid Aloha. And then it says, dive into bright pineapple refreshment with Gold Cliff IPA. It's as thrilling as a leap from the golden cliffs of Lanai and splashing into cobalt blue waters.
Oof.
Paradise is just a sip away, so go ahead and take the plunge. And then in italics, it says, one life, right? So this is probably as pretentious as it is sweet, but let me have a sip of what is probably going to be yet another Capri Sun in aluminum can.
Good luck, Adam.
He's going in.
Yeah. It's not, first off, I'm not getting any pineapple from this, even though it says it's in there. And it's hoppy. I guess if anything, it's hoppy, and that's how I could identify it as an IPA. But again, this is another loser. So
man.
I'm gonna give it 30. I'm gonna give it 10 minutes and let it open up. Maybe it needs to open up, but nobody's ever put pineapple on a table and waited for it to taste better. So we'll see what happens.
How long has it been since you actually had one you liked? That's what I want to know.
That Disco Wolf was the last thing I had.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And it was probably about a month or so.
Jeez, it's well.
How about you, Tom? What are you drinking?
And that streak. Well, I just want to set this up properly here. Okay. So drum roll. Of course, it is the holiday season, and Christmas is what 5 days away? I've forgotten now. Anyway, so I went to my local old Saratoga Mercantile. The guy who runs the place is an aficionado when it comes to this unusual IPAs, and he recommended something called Keg Nog Milkshake IPA.
Oh my God.
Now, it's something that comes out of Rhode Island, specifically Gray Cell Brewing, Canal Street in Westerly, Rhode Island, and they know their IPAs, I can tell you that. So I've been waiting anxiously to see what this tastes like. And by the way, just to let you know that it includes lactose, vanilla extract, and Amarillo hops, and it is a limited release. So here we go. Oh, that's surprising. Yeah, it's actually really good. Okay, we'll take another swig of that.
What's the alcohol on it, Tom?
6.5%, so it's not a double, but it's good.
Right, so you won't be breaking out with curse words till well into the show.
True that. So, Mark, what, pray tell, are you consuming?
Yeah, let me just say this, that if you've ever opened a can of beer while you're urinating in the forest, that's what it just sounds like over and over. But, I pride myself on my sobriety unless I'm at a foosball tournament where I live in a constant sense of shame. But
that's a good reason to drink.
Yeah. I have. Yeah, it's just a weekend full of shame. I got a cup of coffee here, and I dropped 4. So let me tell you my story. I'll be quick because I want to hear what Clay is drinking. I made a cup of coffee, and then I found those chocolate mints, creme de mint that I love, and I just dropped 4 of them in there, and they melted.
Oh,
and so this is a
savage
cream de mint
with cream de mint in it, and there's no alcohol in it.
Cad.
So just a bunch of sugar and caffeine. And
you blackguard.
Clay, your turn, bro.
Clay, welcome to the show, by the way. Clay Toomey from Dallas, Texas, pray tell, also the host of extremely popular Shooting the Shot. So,
full disclosure, this is a paid advertisement. I tonight am drinking the Water of Champions, a product called Lot Water. It is 20 ounces of world-class tap water inside of a repurposed glass of bottle. And yes, that's repurposed, not recycled, because that's how they did it back in the 80s. Lot Water uses only the absolute most basic tap water from faucets located specifically in Denver, Colorado, and throughout its home state here in Texas. So for more information, go to www.lotwater.com. And once again, that's Lot Water, 20 ounces of glorified piss. That you might think is average, but we think it's great.
And what's it taste like?
2 T's.
2 T's, yeah. Well, the third is inside water, but yeah.
What's it taste like?
Glorified piss that you might think is average, but we think it's great.
Okay.
Oh man,
better than Capri Sun, maybe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've been practicing that all day, haven't you?
I wrote it while y'all were talking, actually.
A lot water.
Oh, man.
Okay. Hey, who are we toasting this week, Tom, with our
Yes,
various types
That's
of beverages?
right. We do have an honor group of the day. Of course, we do want to recognize the folks from Kansas City Foosball, and just to toast one of their greats who just recently passed away. We want to say, a warm holiday greeting to the folks at Kansas City Foosball, and our sympathies go out to the family of Dwayne Aldridge, who recently passed away, a big foozer from Kansas City. So, cheers, guys, to Kansas City Foosball.
Yeah, here's to you guys.
Here's to Kansas
Cheers.
City Foosball.
Man, that milkshake stuff is mighty good. Gotta say. By the way,
Would it be good during the summer? Is what I'm wondering. I mean, it sounds very much of a holiday drink.
It is, yeah. Kegnog is not for the hot summer heat for sure.
It bothers me somebody got paid to come up with that name.
Kegnog, yeah.
Well, yeah, I gotta say though, the label. I mean, and this is the thing that really sometimes about IPAs. It's like album. When you bought an album back in the '70s because of the cover, it's the same thing with IPAs now. The covers are amazing, and some of the beers actually meet up to the actual image on the outside sometimes. This one does though, and it's very festive with Santa Claus drinking with the gang. Anyway,
awesome.
I digress. It's all about foosball, isn't it? This FoosTalk Live.
Hopefully, starting now it is. Yeah, last 5 to 7 minutes.
Not really.
Let's take a look back in history, shall we?
With great moments in foosball history, this is a FoosTalk Live Flashback.
Setting it up, outside line, pole position, fires it down the middle on goal, rebounded nicely by Zamora on the 5. He goes through the lane, grabs it on his 3. A chance again right here for Zamora to move within 1 of victory. Sets it up in full shot position. And strokes it home. It's championship point for Adrian Zamora. So if Collignon does have a switch, he better throw it right now.
Yeah.
Collignon bounces off the wall. Comes back with a left hook attempt. Almost grabbed on the 3 by Adrian Zamora. And Adrian Zamora with a chance to win the Hall of Fame Classic title. From pole shot position, Newark, California. Adrian Zamora strokes it home. And Adrian Zamora somehow survives.
Amazing. Truly amazing.
It really is.
Had no idea that would have happened.
What did we just see there? Give Adrian Zamora credit. He turned it on when he needed to most down the stretch. The last 2 games, he executed beautifully. Hit some big shots from goalie. What a happy man. Adrian Zamora sitting on the floor, gathering his thoughts.
He fixed the one rod that was broken. I mean, we said that earlier on. Everything else was working the entire time.
His defense kept him in the game long enough for him to regain control of that 3-rod and win the 2002 Hall of Fame Classic.
Listen in next time for another great moment in foosball history. It's FoosTalk Live Flashback.
So what an exciting moment that was, taking on Frederico Collignon in that singles final. That was now, of course, Frederico was the odds-on favorite to win that, correct?
He was, and again, that's 2002, so it was a deep field with a lot of great players, but it was Adrian Zamora, kind of unexpectedly. I mean, not totally, because he's such a great player, but, he had some difficulties. I believe he won the winner's bracket. Collignon won the first set. Adrian could not find his 3-rod for several games during the course of that match, and then kind of rediscovered it when he needed to, and was able to drive home that final point. And it's kind of a famous image of Adrian sitting down next to the table. And, at that venue in Las Vegas, there were balconies up top, and a lot of his buddies were sitting up there. So he turns, raises his arm, and waves up the upper deck to his fellow Northern California compatriots. And it's kind of a famous moment, and certainly one of the biggest wins of Adrian Zamora's career.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. And we'll be chatting with Adrian this evening as our special guest. And as we get closer and closer to the big holiday, of course, we always want to something that everybody can look forward to. And of course, if you've got to go all the way back to FoosTalk Live's episode 12 for his first appearance with us on FoosTalk Live. So it's been a long time coming to have him come back, because he's such a great guy. Looking forward to that.
Yep, for sure.
Well, I would say that the fires have been set. The controversy continues. We're hearing all about how people either agree or don't agree with this top 50 best foosball players in American tour history. It's been a very interesting ride up until now. Are you guys prepared? Are you ready with your bios and in your comments about tonight's this of course being 30 through 21? Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah. And I did, yeah. Before we proceed, though, I do want to read off, because in case you haven't heard the first two episodes of this, I want to read off the first 20 on the list, if I can, really quickly. Starting with number 50, there was a tie for 50th between Larry Chesborough and Eddie Gartman. 49, Don Swan. Number 48 was Ronnie Nevoy. Number 47, Liz Hill Moore, friend of the show. Number 46, Steve Biney. 45, the great Kerry Walliger out of the 70s. Gary File, one of the pioneers of the sport, at 44. Don Chalifoux, another friend of the show, at 43. The great Gus Trevino, should he be a Hall of Famer? Probably. Number 42. Number 41, Kevin Keeter. Number 40, Bob Maloney. 39, Brandon Moreland. Tina Roton Wyatt at number 38. Billy Sumption at 37. Gil Jackson, 36. Our good friend Kenny Allwell at number 35. John Smith, great tornado player, at 34. Another big name from the 70s, Tim Zeke Burns. At number 33, Scotty Weidman. Talked about it last week. This guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame, at 32. And then Steve Simon, one of the great Texas players, at 31. All right.
So here we go. Throughout the history of professional American foosball competition, the top players have waged war. Many have tried, and many have failed. Inside Foos and Foosball Radio unite to bring you the names of those who stand above the rest. The greatest players in American Pro Tour foosball. From the 70s, 80s, 90s to present day, we are proud to present the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Players in American Pro Tour History. This list has been compiled by experts, hermetically sealed in a mayonnaise jar, locked in the vault of the firm Stevens, Torres, and Gilson, and hand-delivered under armed guard to the studios of FoosTalk Live. Each Sunday until January 2nd, 2022, we will reveal the top 50 foosball players in American Pro Tour history. Tonight, we present to you the players ranked from number 30 through number 21. We continue with the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Players in American Tour History. Coming in at number 30, Tom Yore, Sr.
Yeah, Tom Yore, of course, one of my great friends, one of the great foosball men, part of that fertile Tampa breeding ground that has produced so many great players. There's actually 6 players in the top 50 with very strong Tampa Bay ties. And of course, these days, it might be the strongest foosball area in the entire world. And with Tom Yore, this is where we talked about it a little bit in the early part of the show. This is where longevity matters. This is a man who has been around since the very early 90s on almost a consistent basis, maybe 3 years, I think, late 90s, early 2000s. But longevity, consistency. He broke through back in 1992 with a second in Masters singles to Charles Britt. His first Open title came in 1994 at the Nationals in St. Louis when he won Open doubles with the late Casey Pruitt. Won a couple of mixed titles in 1996 and 97, major mixed titles with Christina Fuchs. And then, as I said, took a few years off the tour in the late 90s, early 2000s to have a son, who we know very well. Won his first world title. We talked about it several times on the show back in 2005 as he and Lewis Cartwright claimed the Open doubles title in Dallas. They also finished second that year in championship doubles at the Dallas event. Won the 2008 U.S. Open doubles title with Bobby Diaz. Tom has been instrumental in the USA being an international foosball power. He's the head referee for the world. He's also earned 6 gold medals with Team USA and another back when he and Brandon Moreland won the men's doubles championship in France in 2011. And also, can't forget 2012 when he and Terry Rue made a great run at the Open doubles title at the World Championships in Dallas as they won the winner's bracket, only to get double dipped by Frederick Collignon and Todd Lafredo. A member, an inductee of the 2020 class of Hall of Famers, one of the greatest foosball men our sport has ever produced. It's Tom Yor at number 30.
My turn.
Mark?
Yeah. Sorry, just like zoning out. I was thinking about Tom. So Tom is a novice. I don't know if he must have been an amateur at the same time. There was a bunch of us, and I'm Tommy Atkinson. So I'm talking about like 90, 91. Fernando and I are amateurs becoming novices. So it's the same thing as an expert. Tommy is winning novice stuff in the the Midwest in the East, and Tom Yor is just really good. We're all basically novices at the same time, and some had to pull away, and we knew of each other. There's the FoosTalk newspaper basically, and
Table
we
Talk,
see
yep.
the Table Talk. Sorry, yeah, Table Talk, and we're watching each other because we're all the same. We're wondering who is going to get over the hump, who's going to start winning at the top level. And of course, Tommy breaks out. Tom Yor's right there though. Fernando's placing high. I played, it was 94. I think it had to be 94. Yeah, it was 94. Fernando and I played for fifth against Tom Spear and Robert Morris in open doubles at the Worlds. And then I don't know if we lost that match in the pits, and then we go in the losers bracket, and we win a match, and Tom Yor and Casey Pruitt are waiting for us, and that's who I grew up playing with, these guys. And so Tom gets out there. He takes second in Masters singles. I wasn't there, but he tells the story here that he had Charles Britt by the neck, and Charles Britt wiggled through. But he's that guy who stuck around, and he's just that hard-working guy. He, in his own way, that's how he reminds me of Scotty Weidman. He didn't have, as a matter of fact, his pull shot lateral speed is better now than it was in the 90s. His lateral speed is better. His shot is more complete technique-wise because he worked on it really hard. But he didn't have that amazing lateral. He had the dead bar Florida pull shot, but he worked so darn hard on his game, and he's such a passionate enthusiast for the sport and such a great brand ambassador for U.S. Foosball and Tornado, going overseas and essentially being part of the rules committee and helping put these rules together for international play. He's so deserving on this list. I love Tom here. And let me say something else as a segue and do it before we get into Adam's portion of the list. There's something that happened. We're not talking much about Dave Gummison, but Dave Gummison played a big role in helping put this top 50 together.
Yep.
And something interesting, and call it whatever you want, tribalism or confirmation bias, or just kind of like this loyalty to the era you played in. But maybe Jim, as kind of a archivist and historian, probably had the most diverse list. But frankly, Gummison's list leaned toward the 70s, and mine leaned kind of toward the 90s and 2000s. And the function of that is we end up having bias toward the eras we fell in love with and played in. It's just part of the challenge of this list was moderating everybody's inherent bias for the era they were the most fond of. And this is a difficult thing. This is going to come up again later. But I think Tom should be incredibly proud to be number 30 on this list. I believe I had him higher. But when it came down to it, that's the point I was trying to make. We calibrated this list. He ended up there, and I think it's an amazing spot for Tom to be. So that's my Tom Yor piece. Adam, please.
Yeah, just to add real quick, because that was wonderfully said. I had him higher on my list too, but that was because under the stat that I made up, he has been warming up on table 64 since 1903.
Yes,
which is if you ever at a tournament, he's always off in the corner warming up. I don't know how he does it, but he's been doing it for over 100 years now. Tom Yor, number 30.
So true. So true.
Coming in at number 29 on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Foosball Players in American Tour History, Moya Thielens.
Yeah, it's coming in at number 29, deserving, and it's certainly one of the most popular players I think that we've seen in the last couple of decades. No longer with us, unfortunately. And Moya came on our radar, I guess, 1994 at the kickoff in San Francisco when she finished second in women's singles and third in women's doubles later that year at the World Championships. And actually, that was in '95. And so we saw her. We saw she had colored hair. She was different. She had a different approach. She was really cool, great gal to talk to. She continued to earn high finishes with her partner, Laurette Gunther, through the mid-90s in a very tough era, a lot of great lady players, and then broke through with the first major win. Her first major win ever was women's doubles at the 1997 Tornado World Championships, as she and Laurette won that title. That was her first win, was a world title. In her best year, probably her best year, 2002, she won every major women's doubles and women's singles title on the U.S. Tour. There were 3 majors. She won both singles and doubles at all 3 of them. 2 of those doubles came with Laurette, and one of those with one of our favorites, Stephanie Ohashi from up in Washington. And she also made a memorable run with Stephanie at the Super Doubles event down in Austin, finishing second to Terry Moore and Bobby Diaz, of all people, and in a great run. Really just so much fun to commentate that one. Won the 2003 Hall of Fame Classic with Laurette, won the National Women's Singles title that year, and then won the World Championship in 2003 in women's doubles again with Joy Stewart this time. And then the 2004 Hall of Fame Classic in Las Vegas, one of the most memorable, legendary performances of all time, as she plays forward for Garrett Schirkenbach and wins the mixed doubles title. I'm sure all of you have seen the video. All of you, I think it was on our top 5 most memorable events in the history of foosball. I think it was that high. But she also won 3 women's doubles titles in 2004. She doubled at the Nationals in 2005 and won a 4th straight women's doubles title at the Tornado Worlds. She was quite simply the best lady player in the world at that time. That 2002 through 2005 window, she was dominant. Had a bit of a down year in 2006 with only 1 win, but did come back to double at the 2007 Tornado World Championships and what was really her last hurrah. Inductee into the United States Table Soccer Hall of Fame in 2016. Quite simply, the best pure lady forward I've ever seen. Coming in at number 29, the great Moya Thielens.
I knew Moya very, very well. She was a great friend and incredible foosball personality. She's an icon for all of foosball. She's probably the greatest player to come out of Canada. I don't know who else we would compare her to come out of Canada. Do any names immediately jump out at you, Jim? So we were great friends. I have incredible memories of karaoke and foosball with Moya. The last time I played her in something. I don't know what it was in, but I played goalie. And I'm not saying this to embellish or for any token reason. She completely drilled me. And I remember when she drilled me, she hit me with everything. And I'm like, your long isn't that long. I'm going to torch you with a dead man defense and switch in. She was on fire. She crushed me. She was getting through my partner like water, which, I mean, just an incredible woman, personality, and foosball icon. And I'll close this by saying we're not looking at who's the best singles player, because Tom Yore would probably beat Moya in singles. We have a lot of things to examine. And I think Moya was higher on my list as well. But once again, when we start looking at calibrating with other people who have more historical knowledge than me, frankly, and have other experiences, Moya is when you look at people that didn't make this list, and I'll go back to names we said last week: Mark Crowell, Trevor Park, Terry Rue. It's a testament to Moya's greatness to be on this list and be this high on this list. That's really all I have to say about Moya. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, this is difficult because again, she and I were good friends, better friends than I realized. I had my early 20s at the time when I knew her. I was very suspicious of everybody, so I didn't realize how good of a genuine friend she is. And everybody that played foosball in that time period probably has a Moya story because she was just so easily approachable as a foosball player. For as good as she was just a great human. And obviously, and I didn't realize this until I started doing research for the show. She and I played together quite a bit, and we finished 4th in open doubles at a big Utah State tournament. Beating a lot of other really good teams, and I was a semi-pro at the time, so I was really amazed at that. But I wasn't surprised because that was something about Moya. One of her key personality traits was that she made everybody around her better, and I know she made me better at the times that we played together. And she is very well deserving to be on this list. But I'll just say this, just real quick, little story. One time we were at one of these tournaments, who knows where it was, and we're just sitting there chatting, and some drunk dude comes up and is doing that thing where they're complimenting her by kind of being sexist. And one of the things that the guy said was, "Yeah, you you shoot like a dude, which, Moya's 3-bar was amazing, obviously. And Moyes looked at him and smiled and said, and she could have said this any other way, played it any other way, but she said, and I won't be able to say it the way she said it, but she said, I shoot like a me. And I will never, ever forget that. That was so typically Moya, to be polite, but also kind of almost a middle finger right to your face. And that's what made her such a great competitor on the table. So she's very much missed, but really glad to see her on this list.
Now, the player coming in at number 28 on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Foosball Players in American Tour History, Mike Bells.
Yeah, one of the great players of the 1970s. Came out of that Minnesota Nut Goody high school program. It was like 10,000 players in that high school program up in the Twin Cities in the mid 1970s. It produced 5 players on this top 50 list. How about that? He was one of the most productive forwards of that era. He teamed with Brent Bednar to finish second at the 1975 TS World Championships. I believe either they were still in high school or just out of it, and then won the title with Bednar the following year, in 1976. Won the Tournament Soccer World Championship. He and Brent won 3 major titles at events of $50,000 or bigger. And Bells and Bednar were definitely one of the most successful teams of the 1970s golden era, with the forward Bells and someone we may hear about in a little while, Brent Bednar back there at goal. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011, a legendary player from the sport's most legendary period, Mike Bells at number 28.
Yeah, just a little history. Going back to that Nut Goody High School, what you're talking about, out of Minnesota in 75. Bells and Bednar at that tournament for a second year in a row at the Hanson Distributing Pearson Nut Goody High School State Championships, beat Jim Wiswell and Doug Furry for second year in a row in 75. And I believe it was in 75, and I need to make sure that I have my numbers correct. I believe they took second. You said they took second place, correct? That
second
was
in 75.
In 75, yeah.
76. Yep.
So they're beating Doug Furry and Wiswell at their high school tournaments, and then turning around and getting second place to those teams at the open doubles events, which is a testament to these players, to that team, but also, of course, to Bednar. And I lost my place. I of course keep going back to my Table Soccer Digest Table Soccer Hall of Fame, because Bednar is, by a table soccer player poll, ranked second best goalie of all time.
This is Mike Bells.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, Bells. Then everything I said is wrong. No, it's still right. It's fine. Can we do a rewind?
Yeah, we already did. There is a 10-second button. We've gone back, and all of that was edited out.
Okay. Well, you know what though? Honestly, so Bells also is. Oh, we're on Bells, right? For God's sake.
Yes.
I sound like a rookie. Anyways, he's also number 2. Oh, it's sad who he's number 2 to. But on this top 10 all-time greatest forwards of all time, he's ranked number 2, according to this tournament soccer poll of 40 of the players at that time period. Anyways, I just thought I'd confuse everybody, because when I wrote down my notes and put Bells and Bednar, it's one of those, what do they call that?
I don't know.
Well, they call that me messing up.
They're called urinary tract infections.
Yeah, and I need some cranberry juice. So thank you.
That would be faux pas, I believe.
Uh-huh.
But
well done,
okay.
Adam.
Yes.
Thank you, Adam.
Yes.
I'm still sitting here.
Would you like another take?
Yeah. No. We'll just dub over it later. It's fine.
All right.
I know. Yeah. I'm good. Thank you.
On we go. Here's the player who's ranked number 27 on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Foosball Players in American Tour History. Greg Jeep Perry.
Yeah, the Jeepster. Know him well. Met him in the late 70s. He made sure he came up directly to me, as he did with everyone, reached out his hand and said, "Hi, I'm Greg Jeep Perry. What's your name?" Very polite individual. One of the game's great push kickers, whose inside game with that shot might have been the best ever. It had to be, because the long was not great. It was sort of a slap long, but when he would sit there for 8 or 10 seconds, you had to react, right? And so that slap long was enough to set up that short dink and that split dink A career that spanned TS, Dynamo, and Tornado. One of the few, I think, that can say they won titles on each of those. He broke through on the tournament soccer tour with 5 top 3 open finishes in 1979, earned his first major title as he won mixed doubles at the 1980 World Championship West event in Portland. I was up there with Hall of Famer Bev Froome. And then second with Mike Bowers at the 1982 U.S. Open, which was the first big major Dynamo event after the crash. I actually played Jeep and Mike Bowers in the winner's bracket final of open doubles there, and Bowers just shut me down. I think I out-5 Jeep like 5-1. But anyway, I am not Mark Torres. In 1985, in a truly historic performance, Greg won open doubles with Tina Roton at the Nationals, and then won the 1988 Tornado World Singles title. So quite a resume that this guy put together. Also won the Masters Singles title in 1991. Again, a very prestigious list of players, especially from the late 80s right on through about 2000, when that event kind of lost a little bit of its luster, but it was a big thing when he won it. Also won the open singles title at the U.S. Open that year, and had a number of top 3 finishes during the early 1990s. And then in 1995, down in New Orleans, I remember it well, he won the National Singles Championship on his birthday down there in New Orleans. And so an inductee in 2013 into the United States Table Soccer Hall of Fame, always a super competitive guy. He wasn't blessed with the most natural ability, but an incredibly hard worker whose practice regimens are legendary. Coming at it, number 27, our good friend Greg Jeep Perry.
Jim, did you say it? Didn't he win open singles at the Worlds in like 89? 81? 88. Yeah. So, Jeep. There was a mythos around Jeep, right? He meditated. The rumor was when I was a rookie, he meditated under the tables. I don't know if it was under or near under the table. When I saw him, he would sit on the ground, cross-legged yoga style, and take deep breaths and hold his hands down and just breathe, meditate. And that was a trippy thing to see when you're like a 17-year-old kid at a foosball tournament. You're like, who is this guy? I've said this over and over on the show. I'm a massive fan of the guy who does the most with the least. And if you want to talk about guys that got the most out of their narrow set of skills and ability, you might have to put Jeep at number 1. You might literally have to put Jeep at number 1. The guys, I had a faster long push kick than Jeep in my first week of playing foosball. Mm-hmm. What I never had was Jeep's inside game and Jeep's self-determination on 5-bar defense. Just the grinding, grunting, fighting style. You know, he was a black belt judoka, and that showed in all. He's such a disciplined player, such a committed player. His 5-bar, he'd firewall brush series. He would just like he had that style of play, whether it would derive from the 70s or wherever the hell it came from, where he just wore you down, man. He's passing. You had to get it. Most people got refs on Jeep. And it wasn't, and there was all kind. I'm not going to disparage anybody, but Jeep would go to the last second, and before he passed the ball, it was that grinding style of play. This is a true story. It was in Mountain View, California, West Coast. We had this East Coast and West Coast championship thing that they did, and I saw Jeep and Steve Morey before a match start commit to each other that they were going to play a match 3 out of 5 open singles with no time limits. And I've got to tell you, man, I started watching that. Like I got to the second game, and I wanted to jab my eyes in with the hot. I wanted to take a blunt object and dig into my eye sockets, because these guys could play a style of play with such discipline and commitment. That's why Jeep is on this list. He to do what Jeep did with the skill set he had, he deserves to be on this list. Any number of places here or above. Great player. Been watching him for decades. Love Jeep by this number. That's my whole Jeep shtick. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, this is another player I got to play against quite a few times, but especially when I first started playing. And when I first started playing, I shot a push kick. Shot a push out actually, but then I was trying to shoot a push kick. And I remember playing him at Yankee Doodles of Long Beach way back then, the late 90s. And I started shooting it, and he goes, "Oh, a push kicker." And of course, I knew who he was, but he didn't know who I was. And because my dad showed me how to shoot it. And afterwards, he took me aside and just asked me, what my thoughts were on shooting it. And I said, I can't shoot anything but a long. And he was very polite and very helpful, giving me some advice. But I'll tell you one thing. There's that scene in The Matrix where there's that first bullet time scene in The Matrix where Trinity jumps up off the floor and starts doing that slow motion kick. They call it bullet time. Whenever I'm playing Jeep, that's what it felt like he would do in his head on his 5-bar. Like, for me, every second was an hour and a half, and I had no idea what was going on. I woke up one day, and I was 45 years old. I was confused and alone. I was in a total mind screw, and that was what it was like playing him. And to do that so consistently is you said it, Mark. It's just a testament to what he had, what he willed out of himself with his ability that he had, and made that much better with his mind. So yeah, again, deservedly so on this list.
Next, the player ranked at number 26 on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Foosball Players in American Tour History, Adrian Zamora.
Yeah, how about that? And if we don't hurry, maybe Adrian's not going to make another show tonight.
We're gonna hurry, man.
One of the smoothest players ever, quite simply, with tremendous hand speed and amazing discipline. Adrian's breakthrough came on the Dynamo table in the early to mid 80s as he claimed top three finishes, including a third in open doubles at the 1986 Worlds with another friend of the show, Mike Green. And then everything, of course, switched over to Tornado. And starting in 1990, really, AZ became one of the most consistent players on the U.S. Tour. He had 18 top three finishes, including 6 wins from 90 through 95. And in 95, he won his first world championship. It was the mixed doubles with New Yorker Karen Matassa now. He continued to be a force on tour as we moved into the new millennium, and he got on the victory board with a win at the 2002 Hall of Fame Classic in Las Vegas as he won the open singles title in a truly outstanding performance, which saw him defeat Frederick Collignon in the final. Of course, that was our flashback tonight. 18 months later, in the biggest win of his career, he teamed with Eddie Gartman to win the open doubles title at the 2003 Tornado World Championships, breaking a run of 5 in a row from Collignon and Lafredo. And then Adrian really turned his focus to international foosball. He competed for Team USA at the first World Cup in Hamburg back in 2006. We'll never forget that. And then he scored the final goal. He scored the winning goal as the U.S. won their first World Cup title, men's title, back in 2009. Still a great player. Adrian actually won both senior singles and senior doubles at the 2019 ITSF World Championship. No easy feat. An inductee back in 2016 in the United States Table Soccer Hall of Fame. A great player, official, and a class act on and off the table. Adrian Zamora coming in at 26.
I'm just going to start talking faster and truncating my diatribes. Adrian's our guy. We have Northern Cal. Well, we split California in half, Northern California and Southern California. And there's a couple of great players out of there. There's like, when I say great, I put a lot of emphasis on winning. You got guys like Terry Moore. You got guys like Jeep. You guys that arrived later, like Trevor Park. But our winner in Northern California is Adrian Zamora. That's our guy. There's a ton of us really good foosers. There's Sergio Aragonis, and there's Fernando, and just a ton like James Castillo and Dana Marr. You got great players. Yeah, Scott. Oh my gosh, Scott Stewart. There's just Doobie, Thor.
Yeah.
You got great players, and Thor, to his credit, and Doobie wins the great win with Merv Schrock, and Thor wins a striker tournament. But when you talk with Garrett, by the way, but when you talk about the guys that showed you how to get it done from Northern California, it's Adrian Zamora. A master to me is someone who wins at the Open Championship level. And you could have picked the win with Eddie Gartman as the flashback. You picked the win with Federico in singles. A master closes the deal. A master figures it out. And 99% of your pros, your paper pros, your guys that got to the final somehow are going to lose that match against Fred. It's a master who, you're saying his 3-bar went to hell? You're saying his 2-bar is up and down? A master can take the deep breath, can relax and be self-aware and be in the moment and understand the riddle and identify the solutions, and they could do it basically without conscious thought. They can arrive there without overthinking it, because it's going to be the 99 percentile that overthinks it, that struggles. Those are the guys that lose that match. That's the guy I'm used to seeing, by the way. That's the majority of players. They're going to get to that final and they're going to lose. And that's what makes Adrian a winner and a master, is he's figured out how to execute and define the moment. So I couldn't be more proud of Adrian Zamora as a representative of Northern California. He's the nicest guy. I mean, you got it's between like Adrian Zamora and Terry Roof for the nicest guys on tour, with a champion spirit, champion heart, who gets it done in the finals. Adrian Zamora, love him. He could be. I'm sure he was higher on my list because he's from my era. He's my guy, but here he is, and excited to have him at 26.
Yeah, Mark, absolutely. Couldn't say it any better. And I'm going to just defer my time to later when we can actually chat with him. But yeah,
Great.
Well deserved.
Moving on to number 25 on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Foosball Players in American Tour History, Bob Diaz.
Bobby, of course, part of that Florida scene, the players we talked about earlier from that Tampa Bay area. Quite simply one of the greatest goalies to ever play the position and a member of two of the greatest teams in the sport's history. Bobby D and Terry Moore formed the team of the 90s, the most successful team during that very competitive decade. He first paired with Terry in 1995 at the World Championships as they finished second to Todd Lafredo and Scotty Weidman, who won their second of two back-to-back. And then he went on to win 3 of the 5 major open doubles titles in 1996. They did not win the World Championship that year in 96. Did win. We expected it. We thought, we were big favorites heading into it. And then won 3 more open titles in 1997, including their first and only world title as a team. Terry Moore and Bobby Diaz won 9 major titles during the decade and then won 4 more in the early 2000s. And then Bobby then paired with Tom Yore and even Tony Spredeman at the 05 Tornado World Championships during the mid-2000s, and then earned a U.S. Open win with Tom at the 2008 U.S. Open down in Atlanta. Then began his second greatest team era, as he paired with Ryan Moore to finish second at the 2010 and 2011 Tornado World Championships, losing to Collignon and Lafredo both years. Then won their first Tornado World Championship together in 2014 when they beat Horton and Biney in the final. Maybe a lot of you remember that incredible run from Johnny and Steve. They then earned 2 more Tornado World Championships for a total of 3 as a team going back to back in 2017 and 2018. There were also a few Hall of Fame Classic doubles titles mixed in there as well, as they made their case, Ryan Moore and Bobby Diaz, for being the team of the 2010s. Was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017, one of the game's greatest defenders and ultimate showman, who was part of 2 all-time great duos. Bobby Diaz coming in at number 25.
I think people have to take a strong look at Bobby Diaz and understand some things. You have a lot of people that struggle to understand defense. And when you talk about the minimalist economy of motion to maximize your defensive capability, you look at what Bobby Diaz does. It's easily the number 2 defensive goalie, maybe number 1. And we're talking about Todd and Bobby. We did this on a prior show, top 5 goalies. But you take a look at what Bobby Diaz does, just the movement of the men. The analogy for me is always chess. Reason why is there's only so much more movement defensively in foosball than there is in chess. In chess, you're moving a little plastic piece. In foosball, you're moving a little plastic piece. Some people move those men better than you, and some people use the psychology of how to use those men infinitely better than the average foosball player. Bobby Diaz is using the power of like a 7-year-old child to move these men and stump the top players in the world that have been practicing for decades how to score on the 3-bar. And he does it by he uses psychology, and he understands the positions of the men. He understands what the limitations are on the forward shooting on that person. And then he couples it with a mental aggression. All that, he brings it all together. It makes him one of the premier defenders of all time. He doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, in some ways for his prowess as a goalie. He can be looked at sometimes for the quality of his partners, but you cannot win these championships by yourself. You cannot do it. If you're in U.S. foosball and tornado finals, there's a hot team coming out of the losers bracket. They're steamrolling because they're playing they're playing above their game, or whoever. If they have the winners bracket, they got to hold off that other team. These championships, Bobby Diaz is at least 50%, if not more, every single time these championships are won. Bobby Diaz, amazing. Number 25, perfect.
Coming in at number 24 on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Players in American Tour History, Brent Bednar.
Yeah, Brent Bednar. And I guess Adam didn't have much to say about Bobby Diaz. I'm sure he'll have lots to say about Brent Bednar. Already has, I think. But Brent, another guy out of Minnesota, out of that Nut Goody program, the other half of the legendary team of Bells and Bednar, and another guy here like Bobby Diaz, who is on this list because of their greatness as goalies. And there's only a handful of guys, and maybe 3 or 4 guys on this list who were just goalies, right? There was really nothing else that they ever accomplished in the sport besides being a great goalies. And Brent was a terrific goalie who had great success with Mike Bells, but also won open doubles with Ken Allwell at the $100,000 Super Doubles event in 1979. Before they lost to the pro doubles team of Ben Rivera, who was a very good friend of mine from Southern California, and another Minnesotan, Tom Klein, in the Super Doubles final. And another one of the really historic events in foosball history. Considered a top 2 or 3 goalie from the sport's golden era, a 2004 Hall of Fame inductee. He got in before Bells did, and he's also lower on the list here, or higher on the list, rather, than his partner, Mike Bells. Brent Bednar coming in at number 24.
Yeah, so the word I was trying to think of was alliterative. This was an alliterative team, and that's what confused me. And you're right, Jim, I did end up talking about Bednar more than I did Bells. But I also meant Bells, too, in the same sense, because of their interconnectivity as far as them as a team. And what we're talking about with these two, and this is something I talked to my dad about, because I called him and asked him, what did you think of Bells and Bednar? And the first thing he said to me he thought they were brothers. Now, they have different last names, which doesn't mean anything. But he was, and if you knew my dad, you'd know he was making a joke. His joke was, and it's the heart of this, was that there is a synergy when 2 players play together. There's something that happens when they are, I don't know, so similar in ability and so similar in what they grew up doing together, and because of that history that they had, playing out of that great powerhouse out of Minnesota, is why he's here. And it's interesting to me to see him as a goalie higher than his forward counterpart. But of course, these two. And when I did this on my list, these two, and I forgot where it was, but there was number 1 and then there was they were just right next to each other, because I couldn't. They're just so much of what their success was together as a team. I keep talking to them as as a unit. So again, glad to see them in the same 10 spot, and glad to see Bednar here at 24.
Next, the player ranked at number 23 on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Players in American Tour History. Lewis Cartwright.
Yes, one of our favorite people here at FoosTalk Live for sure, out of Las Vegas, Nevada, one of the smartest, toughest players the sport has ever produced. He was a great forward. He was a great goalie, and really exploded onto, I had a chance to see him in Southern California, 89, 90, 91, right around there. But he exploded onto the tour in 93 with open singles wins at the Kickoff and the U.S. Open, and an open doubles win at the Masters with Gus Trevino. He quickly became one of the true greats during the second golden era, as he again won open doubles at the 94 Masters in Atlanta with novice player Shan Coffey, and then open singles at that prestigious event the next year in 1995. In 1996, he won his first world title as he claimed the open singles championship in Dallas, and we've talked about it with him on the show. And he remained one of the tour's most consistent performers throughout the end of that decade. In 2000, he paired up with the talented California player Trevor Park to reach 3 Tornado World Open Doubles finals in 4 years, including a loss in what many think is the greatest match ever, the Open Doubles final at the 2001 event in Dallas. But 3 in 4 years, that's really something. They lost all 3 of them, unfortunately, 2 to Freddy Collignon and Todd Alfredo, 1 to our guest tonight, Adrian Zamora and Eddie Gartman. In 2005, he earned a second world title as he and Tom Yore won the Open Doubles title at the Tornado Worlds, while also finished second to Collignon and Alfredo in championship doubles, as we talked about earlier. But a guy, and his career wasn't real long, going from his first win in 93, his final win in 05, really about a 12-year successful career. Shows up every once in a while, was inducted in 2019 into the U.S. Table Soccer Hall of Fame. One of the most versatile and competitive players of the second golden era, coming in at number 23, Lewis Cartwright.
I had the great honor of doing the induction speech for Lewis Cartwright at his Hall of Fame ceremony. I met Lewis in '89 because he was coming to Northern California for our $5,000 tournaments, and I went to Vegas for a tournament. And in real, I'll tell a quick story so we can move. But 1990, that was a massive world championship event for me. It was my first world championship. And the big event was novice singles. I mean, we're talking about, it was crazy. So, and I said this in the induction speech, you had TS players that were misranked. You had like TS pros and masters, like playing Tornado in 1990. These were massive. These brackets were absolutely stacked and filled. And we didn't know we were entering into the next golden age of foosball. Lewis Cartwright won novice singles at that event. And you knew that the guys who were winning novice singles and these kind of like crazy blade fight, like switchblade fighting brackets of all these maniacs, he just continued. Lewis's testament to greatness was his mental toughness. He didn't have any fear of anybody. In his own way, he was like Scotty Weidman. We spoke last week to the bully mentality. He was not going to back down from anybody. Didn't respect anybody, and that respect was narrowed to, I don't care what you got. I got what I got, and you're going to have to pass and score on me, because if I get an opportunity, I'm going to pass and score on you. He was a juggernaut. And so, love Lewis Cartwright, amazing player, and a testament to his incredible career by being here. Adam.
Yeah, just real quick about Cartwright. There's two things. One, I always thought he took the Louisiana Shuffle, which a lot of you know out there, maybe the old school players, where there was just that fast shuffle defense originated out of Louisiana, of all places. And he took the Louisiana Shuffle and sent it to college. The way that he would move the men around that quickly, but on purpose, and the holes that he was giving and the way that he would track the other player's rock, especially for the rollover, was brilliant. And the other thing was, one of my favorite memories in any foosball tournament was earlier this year. I was at Trevor Park and Vivian Park's house. They're having a barbecue DYP, and just me and Lewis Cartwright were out there flipping hamburgers, having just talking smack. It was just the most fun. Really, really have enjoyed getting to know Lewis as a human beyond just the foosball side of it. So yeah, glad to see him on this list.
Moving on to the number 22 position on the FoosTalk Live Top 50 Players in American Tour History, Tracy Mcmillan.
Tracy Mcmillan, another guy who was part of one of the most famous and greatest teams in the history of the sport, of course. One of the game's top goalies who actually started his career as a forward, had some success from the forward position. Tracy, also one of the game's nicest people and a multiple winner of the Sportsman of the Year award. He did combine with Dave Gummison to form one of the sport's greatest teams ever. They first paired up in 2001 and would go back-to-back in open doubles at both the 2003 and 2004 Nationals in Minneapolis. And we said, wow, this is a heck of a team. This is a team that could contend. And even at World Championship events during that time, they didn't win them yet, but they were competing. In fact, they beat Collignon and Alfredo on a couple of occasions at those World Championship events. They would cement their status as one of the top teams ever, though, when they won the two Tornado World Doubles Championships in 3 years, in 2006 and 2008. And Tracy's goalie performance in the 2006 final may be the best we've ever seen, as he scored 10 from goalie, also got one at forward, and also blocked Frederick Collignon extremely well. Just an incredible performance. We could not believe what we were seeing. Tracy and Dave, who have now been paired up for 20 years, have put together an amazing career resume, and they remain a force to be reckoned with even today. An inductee in 2014 into the United States Table Soccer Hall of Fame, a top 5 all-time goalie and one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet, who's also actually an excellent singles player with some pretty good finishes. Coming in at number 22, the great Tracy Mcmillan.
I first saw Tracy Mcmillan play in 1990. He was playing against Steve Murray for to get to the finals of open singles against Johnny Horton, and he lost that match. And Steve Murray jumped on the table, and there's a great picture of Steve Murray jumping off the foosball table. It's the first time and maybe the last time I'll ever see that. He's in the air, like he's walking on the air, and I'm up in the crowd. But T-Mac lost that. I watched that match. And that's when I was in awe of the real, true pro game. His game was solid. 5-bar, solid. Full shot from the 2-bar, amazing. 3-bar, it's everything I wanted in a foosball game. T-Mac had it and displayed it in that match. I was in awe of him then, and I watched him progress as a forward into the goalie game. His win with Gummison, it was 06, right, Jim? Is that correct? He won in 06?
That's correct. First of two was 06. Yep.
So I'll just say this about, I think about the world championship teams, and if you put the world championship teams in a bracket, you'd have to put some of the Lafredo. You'd probably have to put some of the Lafredo Rico teams in there more than once because their teams were so darn great. But if you got the greatest teams in there, that Gummison McMillan team that won in 06 would be in it. They would be in that dogfight heading toward the finals. Because this is great foosball, traditional forward and goalie, and they didn't really do much switching at all till later in their more the twilight of their doubles careers together. Not that it's over, but anyway, T-Mac, just a solid, amazing player, and I love and respect his game, and exciting to have him this high on this list.
Rounding out this week's FoosTalk Live Top 50 Players in American Tour History. Coming in at number 21, Johnny Lott.
Johnny Lott, one of the game's really great early innovators. To quote a bio, I found this online. It was possibly written by him. His influence, quote, his influence on five-row passing is unrivaled. The foremost influence on advanced moving passing styles. Several rules, still on the books, were introduced just to slow down the KG Lott. Johnny's endeavors on the promotional and table development fronts are well documented. A couple of successful endeavors. He was technical director on the 1982 film Long Shot, which I had a chance to actually play with him in that movie. It's starring Leif Garrett, and then developed the striker table in the mid-1980s. And not everything he did was successful, but as a player, he was certainly one of the very best from the 1970s TS Tour. He had a few wins in open singles and open doubles in the mid to late 70s before winning the 1980 World Open Singles Championship. And then 1981 Open Doubles World Championship with Doug Furry in the very final TS event ever held, of course, that legendary event when everything ended in Chicago. He continued to compete in the early 80s on Dynamo and finished second at the 1984 Dynamo Worlds before calling it a playing career, again, at least from the playing side of things. Inducted into the Hall of Fame, and one of the other things he did do also, 1986, came up with the very first Table Soccer Hall of Fame in Long Beach, California. A 2000 inductee into the Hall of Fame, an innovative player and promoter, coming in at number 21, Johnny Lott.
So listen, the purpose of this part of the show is to honor these players in their respective, where we designate them their rank. And if anyone's following, and maybe some of the listeners are, there was a lot of entertaining stuff going on between Johnny Lott and me. I'm having a great time with it. I'm spending most of my days laughing maniacally right now. Most of my day laughing maniacally as I put things together to self-entertain. But in this moment right now, I think credit should be absolutely attributed and directed at Mr. Lott's incredibly novel and industrious career. The things he contributed to Europe. I've heard him tell some of these stories about his innovations and novelty in the five bar and how people had to adjust. I've heard him say some of those things. I've read some of his stuff online. There's no doubt his influence with the Foosball Almanac, the Hall of Fame. He has tons of creative ideas, and he's had them for decades. And that's that's excluding his winning success. And I'm a huge advocate of who were the legacy champions, and this can be credited to every era. I've said this before, that every era has a very small percentage of people who actually won championships. That remains true no matter what, whether it's the 70s, 80s, 90s, doesn't matter. Every era has people that won and people that took second and third. And Johnny Lott has to be credited with being a champion and a winner from his era. So I'm not sure if Johnny feels like number 21 is a high enough accolade or recognition for him. Maybe he'll change his mind after he hears the 20 above him. But for us, with Dave Gummison's help and Jim's incredible background and history of the sport, Johnny Lott, I hope he's at some point proud of being designated at this 21 spot.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for making it real. You know what I mean? But again, I'm going to quote from the Table Soccer Digest, which I keep talking about. I think a lot of you heard the last few weeks, and I think it's important to note that the editor and publisher of that was Johnny Lott. Fall 1986. This is volume 1, number 1, and I've been quoting these player polls, which I think have been a lot of fun. To, you dig into the minds of the players at this time period, and I think what I like about this is Steve Simon's top all-time open doubles team list. His number 4 is Simon and Lott, and I think it's great to see. That's where Lott is in all of this. And I think it's a sign of Johnny's humility that his list, he has him and Lott at number 5, one below where Simon did. And I think it really does speak to just kind of where he is, where Johnny is. I've known Johnny for a long time, and my dad speaks very highly of him. Where he is in this, the continuum of foosball and the history of foosball. So, of course, number 21, Johnny Lott, well deserved.
One of the great, you talked about Steve Simon, and of course Gary File, some of the other great Texas players that from that early to mid 70s that came up. He was maybe on the back end of some of that, but really came out of Lubbock, Texas, and kind of took things by storm there in the mid to late 70s. So certainly from the playing point of view, one of the legendary players of all time.
Well, guys, this is, not only is this a great list and it's very informative, but I got to say, as a person on the outside of the history of foosball, I'm learning so much every single week about these individuals. And kudos to all of you for sharing your information and your stories about each and every one of these people on this top 50. Really enjoy this.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Well, and of course, it's the holiday season. And of course, we're all in a very festive mood. Returning for his second appearance as a guest here on FoosTalk Live, you have to go all the way back to episode 12 to hear his first appearance on FoosTalk Live. But he's back again from Northern California, the world champion. And FoosTalk Live favorite, please welcome once again, Adrian Zamora. Adrian, are you with us?
I'm with you. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Great. Sounded great. What pray tell, is the weather like in Northern California this evening?
It's cold here, probably below 50 degrees, which is pretty cold for our area.
Oh, is it cold? Is it below 50, Adrian? Is it below 50?
I'm in shorts.
Ouch. Ouch. You might have to put on a sweater. Look out. So Adrian, I got to say, number 26 on the list here for the top 50 players. How do you feel about the list so far? What's your impression?
I like it. Couple of these guys, Mcmillan, Diaz, I would have thought would have been a little bit higher on this just because they're the world-class best goalies. So it'll be interesting to see your remaining top 20. But definitely honored to be amongst these guys that are on here. Bednar and Bells, I know of. I've met Mike, but never played him. Never seen him play. Johnny, I got to see play at a couple tournaments in '84, but don't remember much about that. But yeah, then a few of the other guys on here I consider pretty close friends.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing history lesson. And of course, as we get closer and closer to number 1, it just gets more exciting. So your first big run when it comes to being a champion foosball player, as Jim mentioned, was back in 90 to 94. Give us a little insight as to what you were going through back in those days. How did you make the difference and step into the bigs? What did you do?
The biggest thing is I think I just got lucky and scored Mike Green as a goalie.
Gotcha.
He was the actual current world champion. I'm not actually sure. I think he actually reached out to me about playing.
Oh.
But what an honor it was to play with him. And yeah, we had a good run. We wound up finishing third. And yeah, back then, it was just everything to win this world championship. And so it hurt at the time to finish third, but after it all kind of sunk in, I was definitely real excited to get that close.
Got you charged up for the future, no doubt.
Yeah, and it was a whole different ball game for me on Dynamo and Tornado. At least at the beginning, I really did not like Tornado at the beginning. It was hard for me to play on it, but as they started making some adjustments on the table, specifically so that I could pass, the brush pass on the very first tornado tables was a little difficult for me.
Right.
But yeah, was able to adjust and then go on to have some decent results on it.
Decent results. You're being modest now.
Adrian, you didn't like the cherry slick balls that turn into freaking marbles on the first tornado table? All right, let's cut the shit. I'm going to ask you a question. At
Okay.
in Fremont at Galaxy Games, you call a timeout and go to the bathroom, and everyone wondered what the hell. And you did it all the time, like superstitiously. And I started wondering if you went in there and like said a Hail Mary, or I don't know if you talked to God or what you do in there. Are you willing to tell us now what the hell your superstitious, crazy little antic is? You call timeout, you go to the bathroom, all flustered. You come out smiling. I know you don't do any drugs. So what were you do? What do you do in there, dude? And if you don't want to say, I'm going to hold it against you.
You know, I'll have to say I absolutely do not remember that.
Oh
but
God, yeah.
I am extremely superstitious,
Yeah.
and specifically with the bathroom at these tournaments. I swear, if I win my first match in a tournament, then when I go to the bathroom, I'm using the same urinal every single time. And and it's been like that for me for years, among some other weird quirks that I have. But it's kind of embarrassing sometimes when there's 4 or 5 open urinals. There's one dude and he's at my urinal and I'm sitting there just waiting for him to finish. Like,
you heard it here first. If
That's
you want to
awesome.
get in Adrian's head,
That would
you
creep me
follow
out.
him after his first match, and then you just sit on that urinal when he comes in there. You just sit
You're
on
not supposed
it.
to sit on urinals.
No.
Well, in my
You don't know how to
world,
use a urinal?
I'll wait as long as I have to
Well,
wait.
this is going downhill fast.
All right, no, now I know. I want to move on to someone else who has a better question. But you have some OCD tick because you did it every flipping time. So you probably scored. You probably scored. You probably called a timeout, scored, went to the bathroom, and then you just did it. Like if you call a timeout and went to the bathroom, but you did it religiously. Oh, I'm so going to use that against you, bro. I don't know how, but it's happening.
No, you need to get some caution. No, you just get some caution tape and you just wrap it around. Yeah,
Yes, the
everything.
urinal.
Yeah,
Done.
everything.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually don't remember that.
No, I do.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you do remember though, 2003, when you and Eddie Gartman won that World Doubles Championship. You know, Fred and Todd had won 5 in a row and came into that event obviously as the big favorites. Talk a little bit about that event, the final against Trevor and Lewis, and your memories of what has to be certainly, if not number one on your list, top 2 or 3 greatest moments of your foosball career.
Yeah, it's number one for me. I think easily. Growing up, the winning open doubles at the World Championships was everything I dreamed about. Doobie and I, one of my best friends, were really close, and we grew up together, so to speak, playing this game. And that was just our absolute dream. We wanted to win open doubles at the World Championships. I didn't. Mixed was also important to me because I just love the doubles or the team thing, but singles I never really gave much thought. It was that open doubles title, and I'd gotten close several times, but by that time I had kind of gotten to a point in my career where I kind of started wondering, well, maybe this just isn't gonna happen, not in the cards for me, and which took a little bit of pressure off me, I think. And as we were going through the field there and getting closer and closer and feeling pretty comfortable and loose, I was thinking, wow, maybe this is the year it'll happen. Somebody, I don't remember which team it was that beat Todd and Rico and put them in the losers. And I think it was actually Swan and Scipiora that might have put them out, but didn't have to go up against them. And then, played Lewis and Trevor in the finals.
Your nemesis, though, in that event was still Bobby and Terry at third. When you right, that's who you played at. You played Bobby and
No.
Terry. Who was at third?
No, so Terry played, I'm almost certain Terry played with Rob Maris in that tournament. And so with Terry, absolutely, he's just been killing me on the 5. And, you hear a lot about people have their tendencies and they do. And you need to learn that and use those to your advantage. And with Terry, he was just always beating up on me in the 5, just killing me in the last few tournaments. And every time I said, all right, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try something different. And I never really did. I might take a little bit more time, but really wasn't switching it up. And by the time we got to where we had to play them, and like I said, I was just feeling really loose. I finally just said, all right, I'm going to do something different. And I basically, for the first game and a half, couple games, I just predetermined to pass, and I just bounced off the wall and either went up or bounced off the wall and went back down to the wall. And it was working. And then as the match went on, then I was kind of able to mix in some of the older stuff. But we were able to beat him, and that was a big hurdle for me because I was really having a hard time with him. But that's one of the memorable parts about it. And then just afterwards, hanging out with Eddie and seeing how happy he was, and I was, obviously really super excited. It was just a great time.
So, Adrian, I'm curious. Now, I'm going to back away. I have another question for you later that's non-foosball related, but also still kind of foosball related. But this one, I'm just curious because I've been asking all the masters that come on here this question. What is it in your experience, in your mind, that is the difference between the amateur and the beginner, the rookie, the semi-pro, the pro, the master? What are the details there? Like, how would you even quantify something like that?
On the lower ranked ones, I'm not really sure, but the difference between these top players, guys that you're seeing on this list, and other players, I think they're just able to execute at a high and consistent level under pressure. You'll see a lot of local players that have a lot of talent and can play great, but just don't seem to be able to do it consistently match after match in these big tournaments. I mean, you just have to be able to perform at a really high level because the top players do, and that's the only way you're gonna be able to beat these guys.
So so my follow up to that then is because this is something that I think Mark and I talked about quite a lot at Colorado State. But to get to that level, to get to that high end level, we're talking about closing, right? The consistency, and then also just closing and winning matches and the big final match.
Yep.
Because that's what you had to do when you were playing that flashback that we had. As Mark was saying, you were struggling doing whatever you had, but you still made it work based on what it is that you had. Like what was, I don't want to say secret, but what was behind that?
I'm not sure. I do remember specifically having some hard times on the 3-bar, and him actually like dead racing me sometimes with a huge long. So he had kind of something on me, and I think when you see something like that, you kind of, especially when you're having a little bit of tough time with a shot, you even try even harder, and it really in the end hurts you. But I think I was able to make a little bit of a difference with some shots from the back, and basically just keep fighting at it and hoping I can pull it off.
Let me expand on that. Well, first of all, I was just thinking I played Federico in open singles. Very emasculating when he's racing you. It just sucks. You're like, oh my god, is this really happening? But anyway, the question I like to ask, which I think expands on Adams, and maybe it's the same answer, but I asked this question to the winners, the guys and gals who can get it done. Is there any mental exercise or any relaxation or self-awareness or train of thought you try to execute when the pressure's on to bring you to that spot where your level of execution doesn't drop? Because there's plenty of research on this, and there's actually a great paper that I've recently found, and I sent it off about goalie soccer guys shooting penalty kicks and how their accuracy and percentage just plummets when the pressure's on. It's really ridiculous, but we see the exact same thing in foosball. So get into the question: is there any mental exercise you try to employ, or what? And the secret is the secret is like the wrong adjective. What do you try? What do you do mentally or otherwise that helps you execute when the pressure's on?
I don't have any sort of mental exercise that I do, and maybe it would have helped me if I would have done that, because I'd have times when I'd really be struggling, and other times when it seemed really easy. But no, yeah, no real mental exercise that I would do.
Well, you won anyway, which is great. And one thing that we don't talk about enough is you have maybe lost an edge now in your later foosball playing career, but the reflexes. And Todd has spoken about this before, about you specifically, your reflexes, but also about Todd's thing is most of the great players have one great thing that they have about their game that was there for them when they needed it. And if it was reflexes for you, among other things, I mean, the pull shot gets really, really snappy. Of course, the 5-bar and the determination. If you don't find it too critical, you can be as little one note in that goalie area on your 2-bar. However, your push shot carried you through. So, anyway, I'm rambling now. Great reflexes, Adrian. Who has a question?
I do.
That was good, Mark.
I do.
I was with you.
Let me
Thanks,
step up
Mark.
here and rescue Mark.
Yeah. Well,
Adrian, international table soccer has been a big part of your career as well. You were on that 2006 team in Hamburg. You talk a little bit about that here in a second, but then you also scored the winning point in 2009 to give the U.S. their first ever World Cup win. And I think we covered this the first time we talked to you, but talk a little bit about what that meant to you to be a part of that team with all those great players, most of whom you had been competing against for the most part, right? A few of them were partners. But talk a little bit about not only the 2006 experience, which didn't end well, and then 2009, which did.
It's for me, like I said, it's the team thing, and man, that is all about the team thing, and it is really fun having these guys that you're competing against on a normal basis on your team. The whole atmosphere over there, I recommend everybody try to go over there and experience it at least once. But with all the huge crowds and people cheering and the support for all your teammates, I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to 2022, and hopefully, with any kind of luck, COVID will not prevent that from happening in France. And are you looking forward to going this in 2022?
Yeah, yep. I'm planning on being there. Yeah, this whole COVID thing's been pretty crazy. So,
Right.
hopefully that all gets sorted out and we can make this happen.
Right.
Yeah, I mean you're the defending champion in both senior singles and then senior doubles. You and Garrett winning back in 2019 in Murcia, Spain, and you're still an outstanding player. You won a Moneyball just before COVID up in Portland, right, with James Castillo in a really what was a great event, great win for you. But you're still, it seems to me over these last 2 or 3 years, you've kind of refocused a little bit and are really enjoying playing the game again.
I am. Yeah, it's I'd say I think that's about right. The last 2 or 3 years, I've just been, and this is the last 2 or 3. I'd say before the COVID thing hit. So that's already been going on for a couple of years, I think. But um, I'm not really sure what it is, but I guess I took a little bit of a break, or um, didn't hit too many tournaments, and I started kind of missing it. And so started playing. I need to do more of this, but started playing some of the local stuff. We got a good local group here, and for whatever reason, yeah, just been more motivated.
Hey, I got a question, Adrian. If Tornado's not at the ITSF World Cup, what is your home table going to be? And do you change your home table depending on who you're playing? So do you decide not to play Leo against the Germans? What do you decide and how do you decide it?
I think it's going to need to be a team decision. So for Garrett and I will have to pick a home table, and then if I am on the World Cup team, same thing. We'll have to, as a team, pick a table. But I think I always screw this name up. I call it Leonhardt, but it's the tech table. I think the one that's like the old TS table.
It's Leonhardt. Yeah, Leonhardt used to be Tech Ball, was the German table. Now it's Leonhardt. Yep, or Leonhardt. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the one that we'll go with, but we'd have to see what the rest of the guys think. In singles, that's the one that I think I'll pick.
I had no idea that was the same thing.
I didn't know either. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Jim, what do you think about the U.S. team picking Leo against the Germans? What's your honest assessment of that?
It would be difficult for them. Certainly they would compete because we have some great multi-table players here in the United States. I mean, Tony Spredeman is a Leonhard world champion at open singles. So he talked about it last week. He said he didn't really play all that well. He just maybe was smarter a little bit than everyone else. But it would be difficult for them to compete with Germany. And so maybe, and I'm not sure what the process will be in the next one, whether you can switch up your table a few hours before each match. I know they've experimented with that in the past. But it would be difficult. Not impossible, certainly, when you're talking about the members of the U.S. team, both the men's team and the senior team that I think Adrian will certainly be a part of. They are capable of beating the Germans. I would have to say the Germans would be the favorites going into those matches, though, on their home table.
Adrian, I'll ask you to watch Pitch Perfect 3 in preparation for a match against the Germans.
All right, I'll write that down.
Please do.
Really good choice. Yeah.
Oh, Mark, you tickle me.
Oh, no.
What do you got, Adam?
Not here.
What? Yeah, well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to start talking about an obsession that Adrian and I both share and talk about a whole lot more than we ever talk about foosball. And I'm also at the end going to tie it back into foosball. But Adrian, you and I have been talking extensively about barbecue, in particular smoking meat.
Ooh,
and
yes.
one of the things that I've
code or is it really about?
It's a metaphor, Mark. Shut up. My wife tracks my text messages. The point is this, Adrian, I'm just curious. We've talked about extensively, the methodology and how meticulous you are with how you track these 6, 7, 8, 9 hour smokes, 10 hour, 12, 14. I mean, it gets intense when you're doing that kind of smoking. And my question is, is there a parallel between that and foosball for you? And don't just talk about foosball. We want to hear about the fact you do Texas-style offset smoking, which those that know that is intensive by itself. But the meticulous nature that you have when it comes to learning and getting better at smoking, to me, is just fascinating. It's got to relate to foosball somehow.
I'm a lot more meticulous about that than I am the foosball. Talking to a lot of the different guys over the years and the different preparations and game planning and all this stuff that they would do going into tournaments. I mean, I'd have even recently, different guys calling me, asking me who I'm playing with because they're sorting out all the seeds and who's going to be in their brackets. And I never put that sort of effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot when I was having my best results, probably in the early mid 90s, most consistent. I was just going to all the tournaments. So I was really tournament ready, but I didn't put a lot of effort into that game planning or taking notes or things like that. And it made a difference. I think, maybe I would have been able to get past some of those matches with Todd or Terry, close matches, but man, they just, it was just hard getting over the hump with those guys. But yeah, my foosball was mainly just playing a lot, and I just loved it. I couldn't get enough of it, and I feel the same way about this with the barbecue. But yeah, I am kind of a nut about the notes I take with that.
Could you tell everybody out there that might be listening what that does know that has smokers or anything? What is your current smokers? What are your barbecue pits that you have right now?
I've got a few different cookers. Kamado. And by the way, Mark, I was kidding when I said we were going to hijack this with our smoking talk, but I guess it's becoming a reality here.
I do not find you equating pulling pork with handling rods. I don't.
You know what? You say that. I started a thread like 20 years ago. It's hilarious. So I know this is maybe this is a kid's show. I can't tell. But the conversation is about the manifestation of foosball and other things you do. Like, do you play foosball the way you dance? Do you play foosball the way you cook? Do you play foosball the way you make love? And on that note, I
come on.
Adam is like this angst-ridden, anxious kind of thing that just like runs around.
Why are you talking?
Anyway, what?
Don't use me don't use me to diffuse your weirdness.
Seriously,
you own it, dude. Own it.
Go ahead. Let's move back to smokers.
Yeah, no.
I'm in the top 30 pork puller.
I just want to know.
You got to use the same urinal every time.
I just want you to tell us your pits.
I have a Kamado, which is a Kamado Joe. It's like a big green egg, ceramic type cooker.
It weighs about a ton, right?
It's heavy. And then I have
Yeah.
a pellet cooker. It's an old one. And then my new one is offset smoker reverse flow. It's a custom made one from some guys in Alabama.
Ooh.
And it's by a company called Shirley Fabrication.
But
That's
people
my
that know,
newest one.
yeah, people that know that those guys are the real deal. That's awesome.
That's
it's a lot more work, but it's just fun.
For a guy
I'll
who
be happy to make
fasts,
the mac and cheese. No
for a guy who
problem.
fasts like 2 or 3 days a week, you smoke a lot of meat. By the way, I mean you cook a lot, so that's cool. I mean,
I gotta earn those meals.
Right? It makes sense. So Adrian, last week we had a chance to hang out with Tony Sprademan briefly as we were talking to him, of course, about this list, and of course, he gave us a couple of old stories we hadn't heard before. He mentioned the first time he beat Scotty Weidman. It was a really funny story to start with, but he said the first time he beat Scotty Weidman, Scotty pulled him aside and said, and I'm paraphrasing now, but hey kid, welcome to the bigs. Now prepare to get pounded. So, has that ever happened to you when you were first coming up in the ranks? Did you have someone say the same thing to you or something similar?
No, nothing like that. No.
God, that was such a good question.
Well, yeah,
too.
why were people
Holy
so
cow.
gentle with you in Northern California? Because Scott Stewart was just like brutal. I mean, Scott Stewart was mean, and like Coriosa, their nickname was the Bad Boys. And I know Thor was just the best gentleman, and Doobie was a little wacky. But were they just nice to you in NorCal the whole time? These punks?
No. Yeah, no. It was brutal with Scott. He really he was an excellent player, and he also was mentally tough. And he would part of his game was getting under your skin, and he knew how to do that well. And he would just work that part of it. But yeah, he used to give me fits. It's interesting now the crowd that we have now, all these newer players. I mean, everybody's just so nice to each other, and it was so different back when I was playing at Galaxy Games. It was just a slugfest, so to speak, but it was always on the table, and yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't. Scott was fighting people. But let me. So
Well,
let's talk.
for me, it
Right.
was. It never
I
got
know.
off the table for me.
I don't know why.
Cool.
Because you have that aura of like, I don't know. No one was ever mean to Adrian. I don't think ever. But let's talk about that for a second, because Tony talks about that last week, and of course, so Northern California was split up in these little segmented areas, and it was South Bay was San Jose, and then you had Fremont, and you had Campbell, and it was I mean, besides Adrian, everybody hated each other. Everybody, I don't know, but Tony said the same thing last week, that it's funny with you because you're not the villain ever, and you don't play head games. You never did, but you enjoy the antics. And is it foosball missing that? Is foosball missing? Because you'll watch Horton from a distance and laugh. You'll never be Horton. But tell me a little bit. Is foosball missing character and personality? Does foosball need more of that back? Because we are in an era where just people are so damn nice. It's painful.
Yes.
Short answer, yes.
You know what?
Yeah,
that's how come you're not the bad boy of foosball, because you
right
are very smart with your responses. I like it.
Go on,
You know,
Adrian.
the probably funnest matches that I can think of right now over the last 4 or 5 years that I've played was at the Vegas tournament against Bobby Diaz and Ryan. I was playing with Dana, and I'm, for the most part, a pretty quiet player. But against him, I just get into it. I enjoy it, and I have a lot of fun with it. And he wound up getting me both times. He's tough, but I was loving it, and it was if they had no refs there and they just said do whatever the hell you want, other than him being able to friggin' grab me across the table, which I'm not going to get into that with him for sure. But other than that, all bets off. I would just be all for it. I just think it's so much fun.
I
I
remember
think
those
that
matches.
yeah, and I'm kind of actually I haven't gone back to look at him, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be embarrassed looking back at it, because I know I was getting into it, but I think sometimes it could cross a little bit of a line where maybe it's not great for the game, even though I love it. but I enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah, there were some battles, and specifically even between Dana Marr and Bobby Diaz, who did not leave some of those matches on friendly terms. And I think those confrontations were an exception to what Mark is talking about, how it is a maybe too friendly environment these days. But when Dana Marr on one side, Bobby Diaz on the other at goal with Ryan and you, those were some battles, and they were very entertaining, primarily because they were a bit confrontational. Back in the day, and we all talk about, way back in the day, 70s, 80s, I think 80s in particular, maybe down in Texas and Houston and in Dallas, there were fights out back at DYPs on almost a weekly basis, right? It meant a lot. It seemed to mean so much more. And why do you think it's different now? I mean, during the 80s, still a kind of a byproduct of the 70s and big money, everybody playing for money. It meant a lot to everybody. But what changed to make the playing environment so friendly, really moving forward into the 2000s and now up till now?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the everybody here at my local tournament, they're just all super nice. They're all competitive, and and they want to win, but it doesn't even get anywhere close to what some of that stuff used to be. And as far as on a national level, I think I've seen maybe a few fights break out in my whole career. I haven't seen a whole lot, but just the banter and stuff between the people was way more before, like you're saying. I'm not sure why it's changed. I don't know. There's a lot of talk about the rules, and I don't know if the rules have played a part in this, where they're just kind of holding people back. But I'd like to see it get a lot more
Chirpy.
fun to watch.
The
Yeah.
answer's an easy one. They don't have good role models. And someone needs to come out and be just an asshole. We need people to come out and just be mean. And let's show
but there's
people what. Go ahead. What, Adam?
No, I know. For that model, I agree with you. But there's no assholes in foosball like that anymore.
I mean,
to
so
that level.
That's harsh. You're like, look, there's a line, and I beat this horse so badly that even I started getting annoyed with myself talking about it. We haven't talked about it for months. And the idea is exactly what we're discussing. Allow people to engage, make eye contact, invite them to engage each other. Someone will love to be the villain. Someone will love to be this. You'll get Spear all over again being the stoic, and you'll get Allwell, who are not going to react and respond. You'll get Horton, and you'll get Murray, and you'll get you'll get Tommy Atkinson. You don't need Horton at an 11. You could have had Horton at a 6 or 7, and it's just fine. So I think absolutely having people engage in that level and do it in a way that doesn't cross a line can only do good. And let me put a close loop on this. It is clear. I say and do a lot of things, whether inside Foos TV or on the show. It's not all super calculated. It's not like I'm sitting here writing scripts, but a lot of it is to drive the engagement of the human drama, because things just get boring. And so in order to entertain myself or entertain the community or do both at the same time, I will say and do things intentionally to incite people. And you know what happens? People are drawn to it. They love discussing it. They love engaging on it. The same for foosball. The human drama is missing, and the game is boring. Frankly, the game could be very, very boring to watch. You could add color and do great. Jim does an amazing job. The best color for foosball is when the competitors are coloring the sport and the game with much more than just the play on the table. It can be infinitely boring, especially for an outside observer. Anyway,
I mean, Bobby Diaz, Tommy Atkinson come to mind these days. And maybe it's just as simple as maybe if there was more prize money, or maybe it's just not as easy to recoil on a snake shot. I don't know. But who knows? But, hopefully moving forward, we can at least get that feeling of competitiveness, high-end competitiveness. And not that we don't, but maybe on a more regular basis, more consistent basis, we could get that as well.
I have a solution. I think nicknames need to come back into this, and I think Mark we'll dub you Mark the Bull Esser Taurus.
No, the arsonist.
The Bull Esser.
Fire
That'll
starter.
fit on a license plate.
Yeah.
I like and Tom Sugar Tom Robinson. How about that? A great fighter.
I like Meat Smoker. I like Adam the Meat Smoker.
I was in your corner up until the very end. The last, yeah.
When Phil had his tournament there in Vegas, he would were getting together with the players and Phil Schlafer,
Foosball Masters
the
Tour. Yeah.
yeah, and they were telling us, you guys gotta get, be animated and noisy and yell and scream and pumping you all up, and maybe some of the players around now still, or the newer players, have that in them, but you just got to kind of prod it out of them, or egg them on to get that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that it's maybe there. Maybe if they had a reason to do it, maybe if you threw 10 grand there on the table or under the table and said, "Hey, let's go there." But I think one of the big problems that we're facing, if this is something that is important for foosball going forward, is that foosball is now growing really quickly in those after school programs and places like that, where that kind of behavior is just not part of the norm, because you don't want to have riots at your schools. I think we talked about it, and Tony summed this up last week. There's not people just getting their butts kicked behind the local DYPs and stuff. So that translates into a different class of player. So my solution is that you have these kids that are playing at their high schools or middle schools or whatever. They got to connect to the theater kids and learn how to become dramatic. That's not even a joke. No, it is a joke. But seriously, could you imagine?
I like it.
And look, this is sick. And I know most of you probably don't realize this. The same people that think Santa Claus is real probably think that the professional wrestling is also real. But if we
bro,
could,
don't go there, bro.
Yeah, I went there because listen, no, it's for foosball. Think about it. What if we had an entire separate tour that involved a bunch of players that had well scripted, bullshit with each other? I would personally watch that, as long as they it was organic to the plot and they actually played it out well. So I'm just throwing that out there. Foosball clubs meets theater kids 2023.
And it's appropriate that Greg G. Perry was in our 10
100%.
tonight, an actor of note, Hollywood agent, etc. I guess there's something to be said for what you're thinking there, Adam, but not a whole lot. But
wow.
but no.
My
I think you hit on it when you said throw $10,000 out there on the table.
Sure.
Or increase prize money, just generally speaking, in tournaments, and maybe we'd see a little bit more of that. So.
Adrian, what happens if I throw a tournament and just say, okay, look, real simple. You could talk during play. What happens?
As far as how I would play?
Yeah, how you would play and how would you like?
How'd you feel about it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like playing in a bar. It's just like playing. You just don't get the quiet church atmosphere. You could talk during play. How do you play, and how do you care how your competitors play? Are you going to fall apart when someone says something to you?
I probably wouldn't talk a whole lot unless I was playing against Diaz.
Yeah.
And as far as the other opponents, they can scream, yell, do whatever they want, and I could care less.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it. And of course, Adrian Zamora and Tom Yor in our final 10, maybe the two greatest officials in the history of American table soccer. Two guys who know the rules inside and out and are always seemingly officiating those big matches if they're not playing in them. We got about 5-6 minutes left. Talk a little bit about your experience as a ref. What made you want to be a referee, and then talk a little bit about your experiences over the years officiating matches.
I have no idea what possessed me to want to ref, but I remember the first I can remember reffing was the first tournament I actually flew to, which was '84 in Denver, and it was the Nationals, which is the first time I saw a lot there. And I don't even recall wanting to officiate locally before that. And I just wanted to ref matches, and I was actually in there reffing matches. And I remember getting pretty abused by Horton in one match and Murray in another match, and I probably had it coming because I'm sure I wasn't doing that great of a job, but just kept coming back for more. And then I felt like it was there was a spot that needed to be filled there. There just wasn't a lot of refs, and I put a lot of effort, and I would read the rules before on my flight to every tournament for years and years. I felt like I knew those things inside out. I'd still read them. I don't remember what year it was, but Corrington asked Arthur Mitchell and myself, hey, I don't remember who the head official was there at the time. Maybe it was Maloney, wasn't going to be making the tournament. And he just asked us if we would do it. And we jumped on it and we did it, together. We're co-head officials for 15, 20 years, something like that. It was quite a while. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. I felt it was something that I could do to help kind of contribute to the sport. It was needed, but there was some times when I really had wished I hadn't taken on certain matches. Some of them wound up being not so fun to ref. But yeah, it's what got me started. I'm not really sure.
I got a last question for you, Adrian, before we run out of time. So you played in
Okay.
the first Ironman Invitational. It was 32 of the top players, pros and masters: Tommy Atkinson, Robert Maras, Tony Spritterman, Billy Pappas. A bunch of people played in this event. You were the reason why Tony didn't win this event. I know you barely remember because we discussed it, but Tony Spritterman and Lewis Cartwright were neck and neck. Actually, Tony was winning because it's a points race over 4 events. Tony was winning. He needed to win 3 matches in the singles event, and he could have lost in the 4th round and won. You beat him in the 3rd round of singles, and he lost to Lewis Cartwright by half a point. Lewis Cartwright actually took 2nd in singles to Billy Pappas. You don't remember any of this. It doesn't matter. Point is this: Ironman 2 is going to happen. It's going to happen I'm gonna probably do more than one, and it's going to be a high value event, either 32 or 64. The entry fee will be higher than what you guys paid, like $300 each to play in this event back in 2004, and it's going to be higher because we want people to have their bang for their buck. I want to know. I want to hear your advocacy for this event because we're throwing the amateur expert version. I want to hear you say something positive about it. So I'm forcing you to say something positive about it, and I want to hear if you're going to play Ironman 2.
I'll definitely play in any of the Ironmans that I get invited to or I'm able to play in. I think it's exciting because all the different matches count. If you want to be the top guy, the Ironman at the end, you've got to win those draw your partners. You've got to win a designated draw your partner or whatever format you wind up having. And it also is exciting to watch these different matches because they all matter. They all make a difference. So yeah, I'm definitely in for any of them that I can play.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, really, that sounds
Sure.
amazing. Fantastic, Adam. We've got a couple of minutes left. What pray tell? What would you like to ask?
Just one last quick question, Adrian, because I didn't ask you this yet. What you have a huge smoke coming up here. You're going to be doing like 2 briskets and some pork butts. Like that's big. That is. It's a lot of cooking. I'm sorry. I know it's FoosTalk Live, but I got to ask this. What I know you've been using pecan or hickory or what have you. Like what are you basing this next smoke around?
It'll be oak tomorrow for the briskets.
Ooh, nice.
And
wait,
then,
what oak?
I think it might be white oak. I'm not sure what my local oak is.
Yeah, that'd be white oak. Yeah.
Yeah, and then probably apple for the pork that I'm going to do the following day.
Cool. Well, I'm going to start heading up there right now, so I'll be ready to be eating all that.
All right,
You're welcome.
Adrian,
talked drama tonight. We've talked cooking tonight.
Wow.
It's been quite an evening.
We found Adrian's nickname, the Butt Smoker.
Oh no! Hold on a second.
Is that 2 T's or 1?
We're 9 years old. We're still 9 years old. Sorry.
You're still 9 years old.
Make
Don't
it
bring
7.
me into your fold.
Oh,
Adrian, what a pleasure it is to hear your voice and spend some time with you tonight on FoosTalk Live. Thank you so much for joining us, giving us some perspective on the sport as it stands, and on our top 50 as well, and look inside your career as well. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
So Adrian, of course, anything special happening for the holidays? Are you traveling? Are you staying home? What's going on for Christmas?
No far distance traveling, just local with the family.
Nice. Well, we certainly hope you enjoy your holidays. And man, you've made ours. You've made our holiday for being here. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas, guys.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Yeah, guys. So this is certainly a great way to approach the holidays. Okay, sound off. Jim, what are you doing for Christmas?
Staying home. I'm going to spend time here with my family and with my mother, who lives here in Durango as well. Just kind of hanging out and doing the usual. And Santa Claus is real, by the way. Wrestling, not so much, but it's going to be be a fun time here in Durango. We're looking at a white Christmas here in the mountains for Christmas, and so that's our plans.
Nice, Adam.
Yeah, no. Again, Santa Claus is real, and that's what my son Avery and I were going to go up to. Well, we're going to try to go to Big Bear, but that's probably not going to happen down here in Southern California. So what I think what we're going to end up doing is just going over to the in-laws and making mass quantities of food, and having lots of chocolate.
Yeah,
and adult beverages.
I think we know what Mark is going to be doing, but Mark,
Santa Claus is real. If you don't have Christmas spirit, you're probably going to go to hell, because everyone's kids. Some of these kids listen to this. I'll just say this: Mike Green just sent me a message. He said, "Ask Adrian about throwing foosballs and breaking lights at tournaments. Adrian can be a bad boy. I guess Adrian used to throw foosballs and break lights. Adrian, you're a liar and you're a fraud.
Everything's not.
Hey guys,
it's all a big lie.
have a great holiday week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you guys next week as we count down numbers 21. I mean, is it 20 through 11?
20 through 11.
That should be really interesting.
We're going to talk about that list. We got to talk about it. We're not
it's
done.
going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
And yes, Merry Christmas, and we will be back together again just a couple of nights after Santa lands.
Oh,
no, please.
Just like the ones I. What?
Look at me. I'm as helpless as a bird in a tree.
Not roasting on an open fire.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight, folks. Ladies and
Adrian wanted to say something. Adrian's looking like he's going to say something.
Adrian, is it about throwing foosballs and breaking lights? Go ahead.
That I do remember.
Yes.
So when we have time, I'll be more than happy to share the story with you.
Fraudulent lying bastard.
Well, we will be back together again next week after Santa's done his thing here at FoosTalk Live. Thank you, and Happy Christmas and Merry New Year. Or is it it's Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Whatever. Thanks for tuning into FoosTalk Live. Inside Foos and FoosTalk Live proudly present Shootin' the Shot with Clay Toomey. Tuesdays.
My name's Christian Ewing. Currently ranked an amateur in the professional world of foosball. But we are in Colorado at the 2021 Colorado State Championships, which is newly declared a major now, as per Jim Stevens last night. Really good turnout.
All right.
But
it's $50,000.
The other thing that's been actually awesome, if I can swear again.
Yeah, it's fine. There's no rules, and the ultimate power of the bleep, it lies in Tom Robinson's hands anyway. So if he doesn't like it, he can bleep it. All right. So
Shooting the Shot with Clay Toomey this Tuesday. Find it on Podbean or foosballradio.com. FoosTalk Live is a product of Inside Foos, all rights reserved. Brought to you in part by InsideFoos.com, Protectoflex, Rodlock, 518 Prince, Foosballers the Movie, the USTSO, and Foosball Clubs USA. Tune in again next week for another episode of FoosTalk Live. In the meantime,
we'll see you foozin'.
Adrian, what's that